And next up, it's time for Truth or Fake, our daily fact-checking segment. And for that, we're going to head over to France 24's Vedika Bahel. Vedika, you've been looking into some fake news surrounding the French satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo. Tell us more.
Yes, Charlie, just over a week ago, our France 24 Observers team noticed a very interesting cover of Charlie Hebdo circulating on Twitter. So let's take a quick look at that. This tweet, and this user went on to say here, France Nazism is associated with Ukraine. Charlie Hebdo rolled out a special issue about the adventures of Ukrainian Nazis in Qatar. So that is quite a big claim indeed. And there we have the cover itself. Now, a little digging quickly told me that this cover of Charlie Hebdo never actually existed. It has been created in the same style as the original magazine, of course, similar animation styles and everything, but it was impossible to find online. This magazine cover had no mention in recent issues, it was not available on the website, and even in the public Charlie Hebdo archive of the magazine, it does not exist. I mean, this is supposedly the cover 1584, the issue 1584, but as we can see, this is not the cover on the official Charlie Hebdo media cover, and what is displayed is something more about French politics. So what is really fascinating here is that there are really layers of fake news within this story. It's fake news inception going on here. Now, this cover, what we can see is, well, I will explain actually, because just a couple of weeks ago in an episode of Truth or Fake, I debunked this same exact fake news story that has now been depicted on this fake cover of Charlie Hebdo. In this episode of Truth or Fake, we saw a social media video created in exactly the same style as Al Jazeera, claiming that Ukrainian supporters at the World Cup in Qatar had vandalized and defaced some World Cup property with Nazi slogans and Nazi imagery. But this was never published by Al Jazeera. They went out to publicly denounce this and deny it coming from them. But also no such graffiti was reported in Qatar. And it's very likely that this footage was extremely well doctored. Now, the reason that this is so relevant is because we can see a real carbon copy between what was created in that fake Al Jazeera video and this fake Charlie Hebdo cover. We can see the World Cup mascot there, where with the same Hitler mustache. We can even see similarities in the calligraphy down to the wire exactly of how this was done. So it is an extremely well done copy. And this is a really great example here of how fake news can continue to build and continue to build until the real story isn't quite recognizable anymore. Now, this isn't the first time that we've seen a fake cover of the magazine Charlie Hebdo circulating over the last few months. There have been at least 6 that we've managed to find. And Charlie Hebdo has actually come out to condemn and denounce a couple of them in particular. So here is a look at 3 of them that we found. So a couple of them, they have gone out to say that this is ugly, we haven't done this. Now, there are some quite visible spelling mistakes in a couple of these fake covers. For example, this one has quite an obvious French mistake. This should be feminine with an E on the end, which for a French satirical magazine is a very unlikely mistake that they would make. There's also a C missing here. But what's also interesting about these fake covers is that they also have a similar recurring theme running throughout. Now, whilst we have Boris Johnson being vomited on by the UK, we have Emmanuel Macron, we have King Charles at the Queen's funeral, but we also have a familiar face in all of these, and that is President Volodymyr Zelensky depicted as a dog in all 3 of these fake covers. So that is quite interesting, and it's also quite fascinating to see that all of the fake covers, even the one that we saw with the false Al Jazeera Nazi defacement, they are all on themes relating to the Ukraine war. So there's definitely some anti-Ukraine sentiment that we can see in these fake covers, Charlie.
Okay, so we've established that they're fake, but do we know anything about who's behind them and who's sharing them?
Yes, well, earlier I spoke to an independent Russian media outlet called Proverino, and they have been investigating this in great detail. This is their website where they have been doing an extensive investigation into these fake covers. And they found that with every fake cover that emerged, it was first appearing on Russian language Telegram channels that openly support the Kremlin. And some of these pro-Russian accounts have hundreds and thousands of followers. They were getting exclusively shared on this website, and they were almost exclusively shared on Russian Telegram accounts out of all of them, some even by very, very famous Russian television presenters. Now, earlier, I spoke to Ilya Baer, who is the editor-in-chief of the fact-checking site and the independent media Proverino, and he told me that he believes there is a strategy behind the way that this is being done. So let's take a listen.
Suggest you two main goals. First of all, internal, that Russians must think that there is a huge wave of supporting Russia and opposing Ukraine in the West. This is the first one. And the second one is external, to create, they're trying to create artificially some kind of this wave in the West.
So that was Ilya Baer, the editor-in-chief of Russian independent fact-checking site Proverino. And as he said, just to summarize, he believes that the objective of these fake Charlie Hebdo covers is to convince a Russian audience that Western media is on their side regarding the stance on the Ukraine war, and as well as externally to that, amplify voices sympathetic to Russia in foreign languages, and overall just provide alternative facts to the Russian public.
Vedika Behel there, busting myths, fact-checking in our Truth or Fake segment. Thank you so much. And do stay with us.